One of the favorites to win this year's Super Bowl is the San Francisco 49ers. You can see as we look at the line over at Betfred Sportsbook, these are the odds to win this year's championship. And San Francisco is the co-favorite in the NFC along with the Philadelphia Eagles. And keep in mind, San Francisco actually has an extra game to play, whereas the Eagles have that bye. So San Fran comes into the playoffs 13-4 straight up. They are 11-6 against the spread. And San Francisco is rolling right now. They have won 10 consecutive games. They are playing some very good football. Their best wins have come this year against a banged-up Chargers team, 2 wins against Seattle. They beat the Dolphins, and they beat Tampa on a short week. Their worst losses, well, they did lose to the Bears, the Broncos, and the Falcons. None of them really looked like great losses, but they were all on the road. They got beat up by Kansas City when they played KC. Now, for the 49ers, they started out 3-4, 10 straight wins. They, by a lot of metrics, they look very, very good. They're number 5 in offensive EPA per play. They're number 1 in defensive EPA per play. They're tied for 3rd in the Pro Football Focus power rankings. They're the number 2 DVOA team. They have the number one defensive DVOA, the number 6 offensive DVOA. The one metric that kind of jumps out to me with them, though, they had the easiest strength of schedule in the league. And I'm going to, dive into a lot of their metrics where if they're the team standing up holding the Super Bowl trophy, it's not going to surprise me. But if they do it, they are going to be very overvalued along the way. This team has not beaten good teams this year. They just haven't. And they have not played a bunch of good offenses. Anytime they play a good offense, that good offense moves the ball on their very good defense. Can the rookie quarterback Purdy really sustain this play? He has made his first 5 starts only. He's been awesome, but no rookie quarterback has ever made the Super Bowl, let alone win it. No third-string quarterback has ever led a team to a Super Bowl. Teams have made the Super Bowl in years where they started backups or third stringers, but by the time they got to the Super Bowl, the initial starter was back. This dude has been good, though. Last week, he went 15 of 20 for 178 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 of the misses were actually wide receiver drops. He's thrown multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight games, joining Justin Herbert as the only rookies ever with 6 straight games of multiple touchdown passes. They've actually led the league in scoring since week 14, 33.6 points per game since he's been under center. He has 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. They have the 3rd best EPA added per play over that stretch. And he's completing nearly 73% of his passes when he's not blitzed. I think that's why you probably want to blitz this guy. You probably want to give him looks that he hasn't seen. Because this team, the 49ers, they don't take big shots down the field. Their average depth of target during week 8 was the 6th lowest in the league, and they lead the NFL with 6.6 yards after catch. So they get a lot of yards after catch with Kittle, with Debo, with McCaffrey, with Ayuk. They did beat the Seahawks both times they played this year. They beat them early in the season 27-7. Then they beat them 21-13 in week 15. But that game was a little bit different than it might have looked on paper. San Francisco was winning the game 7-3, and Seattle was driving the ball down at midfield, and Seattle had a chance to either take the lead or cut it to a 1-point game, and they fumbled the ball. And the 49ers got the fumble, went down and scored a touchdown. They got up 14-3, and Seattle just couldn't come back from that. If they don't fumble the ball there, that would have been a much more competitive game and back and forth. Since week 8, these are the opponents for the 49ers. So this vaunted win streak they've been on. They beat the Rams, who were one of the worst teams in the league. We saw that their offensive line was terrible. Stafford was banged up, and he didn't play very many games after that. They beat the Chargers when the Chargers were really banged up. They didn't have Keenan Allen, and we've seen the Chargers now get healthier and play better. They beat Arizona twice. Arizona started Colt McCoy in one of the games and then David Blau and McSorley in the other. They beat the Saints 13-0 in a game when the Saints twice got stopped in goal-to-go situations. If the Saints score one of those touchdowns, it's a one-possession game. The Saints could have very easily scored both touchdowns in that game because they were in goal-to-go spots. They beat Miami when Miami was starting to crater, and we saw Miami go through a 5-game losing streak, and Miami had no offensive line. They beat Tampa on a short week after Tampa had just come back and won a game on Sunday Night Football. They beat Seattle, who had lost 5 of 6 during that stretch and was not playing well. They beat Washington when Washington had to make a quarterback change mid-game and put Wentz in. They went to overtime with the Raiders with Stidham. They've played 3 teams with a winning record this year: Seattle, Kansas City, and the Chargers. They beat Seattle, they beat the Chargers, and they got crushed by Kansas City. Now, this defense is good. They're the top scoring defense in the league. They allow just 16.2 points per game. Mitchell and Debo should be back healthy. When they win the turnover battle, they're 13-0. When they lose the turnover battle, they're 0-4. So they go and get turnovers quite a bit. And they will beat you up because every team they have played this year lost their following game. Opponents were 0-15 this season the week after they played San Francisco. This is a physical, tough football team. But you can attack them in the air, not on the ground. They're difficult to run the ball against. They rank second in EPA allowed per run play, but through the air, the secondary ranks 27th at stopping deep passes. They rank 30th against number 3 and number 4 wide receivers, and they are 7th worst in EPA per dropback of throws of 20-plus yards. That's how you beat this team. You have to be able to throw the ball down the field. Can the Seahawks do that? I don't know, but there are other teams that can throw the ball down the field, and if they do, is Purdy going to be able to go up and down the field with them? There's a reason we haven't seen rookie quarterbacks win the Super Bowl before. It's difficult. Now, Brock Purdy has a chance to do something we've never seen. The San Francisco 49ers, I've kind of like dug into them a little bit, right? I've tried to find some holes for them. This is a very good football team, and it would not be a shock if they do win the Super Bowl. But based on the schedule they've had, who they've played, I just think they're coming in a little overvalued. Everyone's just kind of penciling in the 49ers now as if Brock Purdy is this experienced quarterback with 5 years under his belt. He has 6 games under his belt. We've never seen him in these kind of pressure situations where everything is more magnified. So if you like San Francisco, I can understand why, but for me, this has been one of the teams I've been waiting to play against come playoff time. It might not be in the game against Seattle. The Seahawks may not have enough firepower to beat the 49ers, but when they match up with a team that can throw the ball a little bit, they could be in some serious trouble. So San Francisco, a co-favorite to win the NFC. Good luck if you're playing the 49ers, and we'll continue along with more of our individual team previews.